The samurai code, Bushido, is often romanticized, a strict honor system built on loyalty, courage, and self-sacrifice. Films and books paint it as the ultimate moral compass, something noble and pure. But here's what they don't tell you. Bushido was never meant to be a rigid manual for living. It wasn't a fixed set of rules carved into stone. It was fluid, evolving, and at times brutally pragmatic. The version of Bushido most people know today is actually more myth than reality. In its earliest form, Bushido wasn't about dying for honor at every turn. It was about survival. Samurai were warriors, first and foremost, and their loyalty had limits. In the chaotic Sengoku period, a time of constant war, loyalty was conditional. Samurai switched allegiances when necessary, betraying lords and comrades to protect their own future. Honor was important, but not at the cost of survival. They weren't mindless soldiers marching to a glorious death. They were calculating, adaptable, and often ruthless. The idea of Bushido as a strict death-before-dishonor code only really solidified during the peaceful Tokugawa era, when samurai were no longer fighting wars but serving as bureaucrats and retainers. With no battles left to fight, the samurai class needed a new identity, something to justify their existence. Bushido became more about philosophy and discipline than war. Suddenly, honor became absolute, and the idea of dying for one's lord turned into a moral ideal. But this version of Bushido was largely invented after the fact, to give the samurai class a heroic, untouchable image. Even the famous seppuku, ritual suicide, wasn't as common or noble as the stories suggest. Yes, some samurai chose death to preserve their honor, but far more often they negotiated their survival. Seppuku became ritualized and glorified later, almost like a theatrical performance of devotion. It wasn't always the noble, spontaneous act it's often portrayed as. The truth is, Bushido was never a single unbreakable code. It was full of contradictions and exceptions, shaped by necessity and politics as much as by morality. The samurai were human, adaptable, practical, and willing to bend the rules when needed. The myth of the perfect, honor-bound warrior? That was a story created to inspire, control, and preserve an ideal long after the samurai themselves had faded from relevance. If you strip away the legend, what remains is far more interesting. A world of complex, flawed individuals balancing survival and principle, duty and desire, all under the weight of impossible expectations. That's the real samurai story.